What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode number 37 of Uncovering Unexplained Mysteries for Thursday, March 9th, 2017. I am here with Michel Bron.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm French, apparently.
Michel.
Yeah, I'm here, and really glad to be here. I've had a pretty solid week. I mean, it's been all right. I mean, I got to see Logan in the theater.
Oh,
that was
that's
pretty
a very
awesome.
that's a very divisive movie there, because you got
It was
people,
a really intense film.
people either I've from my Facebook wall, people either loved it or did not like it.
Yeah, I could see why. I only have a few problems. The ending is one of them. I would have preferred if it ended differently. And there's some pacing issues here and there that kind of slow the film down. But it was really great to see Wolverine finally show some berserker rage. Great to see the blood and the violence and the carnage. So that was really a spectacle to see on the big screen. And I've been revisiting a bunch of other X-Men films lately. And if you weren't a fan of this one, go watch X-Men Origins Wolverine again. And I'm pretty sure you're going to look at this one and be like, you know, I may not be a super big fan of Logan, but it's a lot better than X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah, I remember the I remember the X-Men cartoons in the 90s, which I was a huge fan of. I remember it was funny because, like, you know, with cartoon violence and everything, Wolverine would always draw his claws out, but he would never fucking use them. He would always just about to use them. He would use them on Sentinels, but because Sentinels were robots. So technically, you could slice up a robot, and that didn't matter, but he never used them on people in the cartoon. And I always noticed that, and I thought that was such a cop-out. Even as a kid, I was like, man, he never actually, like...
Well, I know, yeah, I mean, I noticed that too when I noticed that with Spider-Man. Spider-Man couldn't punch anybody. Have you noticed that in the 90s cartoon?
No, I
didn't. I love the 90s animated series, but you never see Spider-Man punch anyone. He kicks them.
It's funny
or he
because,
does something...
like, Cyclops and Storm, they can, like, blast people with, like, their lightning and their laser beams, and you can shoot people with lasers.
I know, yeah.
But I guess because lasers are fictional enough in their mind that, you know, kids they'll be able to separate the difference.
Well, it's not as bad as, like, it's like the Turtles. Like, they could use their weapons in the cartoons, but in the UK, for some reason, their weapons were changed. Like, they couldn't even use their weapons. They had other things.
Well, I mean, when you live in a country where the police don't even carry guns, you know, it's kind of... I guess cartoon violence will really be frowned upon over there, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, aside from that, I finally fucking moved and completed my move, and that's why this
Yay!
Yay! I mean, now I can say yay, but man, the past like 3 or 4...
Well, it probably was a pain in the ass.
It was a huge pain in the ass. I mean...
Did you have any help, or was it just...
No, my brother and my mom helped me. My dad kind of helped. He's old. He can't really, like, lift stuff.
Yeah.
But he like, drove the truck with the trailer on it with all my crap. But, like, it was a pain in the ass because I got the keys to the house, like, a week ago, but I had all my gigs and stuff, so I actually couldn't physically move all my shit in until a few days ago, until Sunday. So Sunday, I had to, like, wake up at my parents' house, start packing everything up, and anybody who has ever moved, I know that you already know the fucking pains of that, and especially
packing up all my VHS tapes in Oklahoma City.
And that's another thing too, is like you collect stuff, I collect video games. It's mind blowing just how much physical space that stuff takes up.
Yep.
Like, you don't think about it, you know, it's just sitting on your shelf all nice and neat, and you don't think about it until you actually have to grab each cluster of tapes and put it in a box. And it's like, well, I got one box filled up already, and I still got 75% of my collection I got to pack up. Yeah, it was crazy, just the amount. So, like, I'm really much more on that having less physical possessions thing now. Like, I got what I got. I'm happy with it. Like, I don't want to really accumulate much more.
You know, I'll just deal with it on my end because I really just love my entire collection, and I do cut down on things if it's something I don't like, or if it's something I'm never going to watch. I've been doing better on that. Like I did sort of a VHS purge recently. I was like, I'm never going to watch this. Get out of here. Go to Goodwill somewhere. So that way it doesn't take up space, and that way I can have more space to put other stuff, you know.
But yeah, so I got everything moved in now. I got all the various services that you need turned on, the power, the internet. The internet guy came yesterday, and now there's a big-ass wire running in front of my yard. It's Comcast or whatever, and I didn't know. Like, I thought everything was, like, aerial. Like, I thought they, you know, did it like that, but apparently...
No, mine is through, well, if I had cable, there's still a cable cord back here, but it's not really visible. It's like behind somewhere. I got a bunch of cords and stuff everywhere in my room, but they're usually behind stuff, so they're not like all over the place.
I'm just hoping it doesn't fuck my lease up in some way that I had them come out and do that, because there's this
It probably wouldn't, because Comcast, they probably know what Comcast does and all of that. Yeah. I would hope so anyway. Well, I mean, that's cool. You got your own place now. You can play your music as loud as you want. You can play the Unsolved Mysteries, you know,
as loud as you want. I can blast.
You can watch it. You can watch it whenever. You don't have to. You could get up in the morning, watch an episode early. You don't have to wake people up. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Who's kidding who, Mike? I don't wake up in the morning. I wake up in the early afternoon at best.
Well, I didn't know. Well, I don't wake up in the morning either, so.
Yeah. Yeah,
unless I have to. If I could finally am able to get a job and it's like show up at 9, I'll show up at 9. It's just one of those things that I don't have any luck on that front. So I'm just waiting for a response back from WSU. I still haven't gotten any, but I got an email saying, "Oh, you're invited to visit the campus on sometime in April or May." And I'm like, "Okay," and talk to somebody. All right, fine. I'll go and I'll talk to somebody and I'll say, "Hey, Am I accepted here? Is that what this is?"
I know that feeling, because that's exactly what was happening to me with this house. They were like, "Oh yeah, you can tour that." Like before I got the house, they're like, "Oh yeah, you can tour the house at your leisure. We'll give you the code to the lockbox, and you can let yourself in and walk around." And so I was like, "Man, I love this place. I want this place so bad." And then there was like all these hurdles I had to jump through. You know, with giving, you know, you have to send them a copy of your social security, your driver's license, and then you had to apply, and then you had to send them proof of income. And it was like this huge tease to where it's like, well, am I going to get the house? Am I not going to get the house? And I don't know if this is like something they do artificially or if it's true, but man, they made it seem like there was like 10 other people looking at the same place. She's like, "Yeah, we had like so many showings over the weekend, you know, you better get on the ball and I'm like, "Damn it, you know, like I really want this place because it's big and it's like I like everything about
they
it."
Probably exaggerated some things a little bit.
It would seem,
or maybe not.
Seem like it. I don't know. I mean, it is for the money you're paying. It is a good value, and it's in a pretty decent neighborhood, so it's cool. I'm gonna be making a YouTube video of the tour of the house soon.
Cool.
Which is funny because like I just did.
You just did one. You just did one
of my old place. Which I'm kind of.
Hey, now you can show some of the other stuff that you just didn't show, like because you were just like, I don't want to show that because it was like stuff that was in your brother's room or something.
Yeah, and that shit still remains in my brother's room because I got like 95% of the stuff that I want here, but there's other stuff, and I'm sure other people who have moved know this. When you move, there's some stuff where you're just like, that shit can just stay forever at the old place. I don't want it over here.
There's some books and stuff that I have over in Michigan at my dad's place that are kind of like that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'd like to get them back, but I'm in no hurry. I'd like to get my VHS tapes back that I have in boxes already boxed up. My dad keeps giving me the run around, and every time I call him about it, he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm gonna do it," and then he doesn't do it. It frustrates the hell out of me because I'm sorry, even if you run it doing long haul truck driving, you're home for like a couple days. They're already boxed up. Go to the fucking post office.
Don't you love that kind of shit? People who just procrastinate with such an easy task, you know, like, well, I mean, it's not an easy task, but I mean, it's a mid-level task. It's not like
it's pretty easy. They're already boxed up. Put them in a couple of them in the back of your car. Go to the post office is right there in the town, small town that you live in, this dinky ass town, and ship them out media mail. Done.
Yeah, I've got like 350 CDs in my brother's room that I showed off in that tour of my room video, and like
that's nothing. I got thousands of tapes over there.
Well, it's that kind of shit that I'm not bringing over until I own a house, until I am making mortgage payments on a house, and I know I'm going to be there for at least 6 to 10 years. Then, yes, I will take all that crap that's over at my parents' house and I'll bring it all here. But for right now, it's like that shit can stay over there.
Yeah, that makes sense. It must be really nice to have your own place. Like, eventually I'd like to do that. And I really want to do that. It's just I don't have the income. So
yeah, no, it's so expensive. Like, because of the, I was fortunate enough to build my job, both of my entertainment jobs up as a wedding DJ and karaoke DJ. I was able to do that enough to where I was able to afford it, and I'm very fortunate. But it's a lot more stress too. I mean, anything can happen, and I could lose gigs, and then I could fall behind in my bills and stuff. It's not happening right now, but it could, so there's more.
I think you should be pretty good with gigs for karaoke and stuff like that, and for your wedding. I mean, that's always seems to be something that people need.
Yeah.
So unless a robot gets invented and then decides to, replace you, I don't see that happening.
It'll never be able to replace a good professional, wedding DJ or karaoke DJ. A robot will never be able to. They've tried with stuff like jukeboxes and like karaoke machines, but it just doesn't. It doesn't even come close to like actually having a person in there running the event. Another thing about living on my own is that like this is the first time I've lived completely by myself. So I'm not gonna lie, walking into my house late at night from a gig, that's scary. Going to bed by myself in this house all alone, that's kind of freaky. I'm not gonna lie. Just stuff like that, not knowing.
I mean, you'll get used to that. Yeah. I mean, I guess it was kind of like that for me in some of the places I lived in with my dad in Oklahoma City or in Michigan when I'm just by myself and they're on the road somewhere. But I mean, that happened enough that when I moved in with my mom here in Vancouver, Washington, not Canada. Yes, there is a Vancouver, Washington. It does exist. Yeah, it's a figment of my imagination. But anyway, my mom is at work for most of the day. Troy's out most of the time.
Who's Troy?
My stepdad.
Okay, you never said that before.
Yeah, so I really honestly have a lot of time to myself. Like, so I'm pretty much used to being alone.
At night though is when it really tests your courage as a person, though, I think. Because
no, I've done that before when mom has to go and do something, or
they went camping for like a week, right?
Stuff like that. Yeah, they've done that before. Or mom goes out and does some weekend with her relatives at the beach. So I've had a couple weekends. I've even had a week by myself, and it's not that bad. I mean, really, I tend to stay in my room most of the time anyway.
Yeah, that sounds the same with me. That's why like I didn't think twice about living on my own, because it's like I'm in my room all the time anyway at my parents' house. I never really interact with them. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that I
interact with my mom every now and then. Like I decide to sit down and watch some TV.
But it's nothing like. It's not like you guys have like a pillow party every night.
Well, I'd like to. Because that's the thing. My mom doesn't like a lot of the things that I like, and so we don't really do a lot. We don't have that type of connection. Troy isn't home that much, and all my friends are out of state. So. I want to get back to school, so maybe I can meet some new people in the film program, so I can be like, hey, let's go hang out or something, go see some movies together or whatever. Come over to my place to check out my crazy big collection. But
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that statement, but
no.
maybe a female you might show?
Possibly.
All right, so people are getting pissed off by chit chat right now, so that's cool. Before we go into the actual segment,
we have to announce another Unsolved Mysteries related thing. Season 3 of The Stack is on Amazon Prime right now.
They are doing like gangbusters with putting the seasons up there. I'm pretty proud of that.
Well, every month is a good thing. I mean, considering how many episodes they have. Now, I noticed this already with one of the episodes. One of the missing segments from, I think, season 1 or 2 showed up in season 3.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, so I heard that from them that could happen. So, Dennis Farina's Unsolved Mysteries is on YouTube, so hopefully maybe that'll lead to the Stack Unsolved Mysteries being on YouTube for those of you who are in Australia or Canada or anywhere else other than the U.S. apparently. Film Rides, though, does have stuff on Netflix, so that's what I'm thinking that eventually, maybe, hopefully, UM will end up on Netflix. But it also depends on the provider. Netflix is just like Amazon Prime, and Netflix is probably Netflix.ca or Netflix.au.
Yeah, they are. Because I talked to my friend in England, and she was telling me that Netflix has different content on there than what they have in the U.S.
That's why people pirate things overseas, is because they can't watch it. There's no legal way for them to watch stuff.
Yeah, I think pirating, for the most part, nowadays is when they don't have a resource of getting it anywhere else. Because, I mean, with Spotify and
how are you going to blame the person, the consumer? They would actually pay and do something, and actually pay for the rights or the ability to stream certain things, but you don't give them that option.
Yeah.
So
I think when I was younger, like when I was a kid, I think I was really into the idea of like stealing stuff off the internet for free. You know, like I was like a lot more like, you know,
you're a rebel.
I don't know. It was just such a novel thing at the time. But then again, I grew up in that. I was like that perfect age. I was like 12 years old when Napster first came out. So I was like that perfect age to where like that shit would really like dazzle
now it's just
kid.
Commonplace. Now it's just like
now it just
we take it for granted.
Yeah, it just feels like a gluttony of content. It's like, yes, I could go out and get every single Bob Dylan album for free if I want to.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't really.
Yeah. It's kind of how I feel about movies. I mean, there are stuff that I do download because it's like only on VHS and it's out of print and there's no other way to get it, or there's no actual legal way to buy certain things. Like I found some links for old SNL episodes and it was like a gold mine. I was like, holy shit! Like the actual ones that were recorded off of the reruns that were on Comedy Central.
Oh, I remember
not the syndicated stuff that have stuff cut out of it that you see on Netflix or Amazon. Or CISO. So that kind of stuff, you're not going to find it anywhere else. And I would pay for it legally. I'd pay for a DVD set if I could, but NBC just doesn't really see any reason to do that. And they have some segments on skits on their website, but some. It's not the entire episode.
Yeah, I don't like piecemealed shit like that. That's why I didn't like that Mike Judge Beavis and Butthead collection, because it was just piecemealed segment, like Beavis and Butthead segments.
Yeah, that's the only way you can get the whole series is bootleg.
Yeah, which I do have. I do have the whole theory.
Really bad, the bootleg series.
No, I have like a VHS rip kind of thing going on, but
I know you had the one before.
Oh yeah, I definitely did have the bootleg DVD one where it was so funny. Like it was this website and it was called tvboxsets.com and it had like all these really. It was like all these shows that hadn't. Well, now a lot of these shows are on DVD box set now, but at the time they weren't. This was like fucking almost 10 years ago. And this website had like Doug and like, you know, Rocko's Modern Life and Beavis and Butthead all on box set, and they didn't have that anywhere else. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how did more people not know about this website? And, you know, I was a little bit more naive about the internet back then, so I got the Beavis and Butthead thing, and it took them like about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months to actually get me the DVDs. I kept sending them emails going, hey, I'm really starting to think this is a scam. I'm going to report you guys.
That's way too long.
Yeah,
I mean, iOffer doesn't even... I've never gotten anything off of iOffer that's taken that long.
Yeah, and then when I finally get it, this is what it was. It was like somebody had the VHS rips of every episode, and what they did was they played it on their TV... and they pointed a camera at the TV, and then what you ultimately got was them filming their TV screen of the episode. So you got cams.
You got Beavis and Butthead cams, essentially.
Is that the technical term for that?
That's the technical term for, yeah.
Yeah, it was like someone taking their camcorder into the movie theater and pointing it at the screen. Yeah, that was so ghetto. It was so horrible. Like, the quality was god-awful. I was so disappointed because I'd waited so long. But anyway, getting back to the podcast.
Probably did that with Unsolved Mysteries. It's just like the bootleg cam rip of Robert Stack's Unsolved Mysteries. The camera's shaking. It's all over the place.
Yeah, I can't watch. I have a certain quality standard that it's something.
Well,
has
so
to
do
be.
I. I mean, so do I. But yeah, apparently
standards. You need standards. That's Gordon Ramsay just in the kitchen. That's what he says to everybody. Standards. You've lost your standards.
Oh, I thought what he said is he just insults everybody. And,
he calls him a cunt.
Raw.
He calls him a cunt.
Fucking raw.
But before that, he says standards.
Trying to kill somebody.
So anyway, we have a Patreon page. If you feel like support, if you heard any of this shit and you want to give us money, there's something probably wrong with you. But if you still do, it's patreon.com/uncovering unexplained mysteries. We're very grateful to all the people who are already kicking in their funds to
very grateful. Thank you.
Keep us afloat in this world, in this wicked world that we live in. I don't know what that was about. It was weird. I got all Jesus on everybody. This wicked world that will be struck down with Jesus, and all the sinners will be cast into a lake of fire.
Struck down with Jesus?
Or by Jesus, whatever. I guess, I don't know. So we also have a Facebook fan page for the podcast. It's called facebook.com/uncovering unexplained mysteries. And most excitingly, we have a Facebook group called Uncovering Unexplained Mysteries. That one has been really active. People have been jumping on that group, and it's real fun. Thomas Hatfield's done a great job of adding content to that, where me and Mike wouldn't have the time to. I know I sure as shit don't have the time to, and I can't really do Photoshop as well as he can. And all
he's a master of that.
Yeah, he's really good.
I'm amazed, really.
And, just to comment on that page real quick, if you join the page, just a general rule of thumb for any page or message board you join online, don't be a dick. Don't disrespect people and be rude to people, or you will get kicked off. We've already had to do that once now, and it's not something that I want to do, but, if you're going to be a douchebag...
Welcome to the party, pal!
So, yeah. Anyway,
that's all I have to say, because when you're on the internet, that's what happens. If you have a group or if you are sharing your honest opinion, you're always going to have people who hide behind their keyboards and act tough, and you're always going to have to do something about it, and, just kick them out. That's how it is.
Well,
I deal with it weekly.
Yeah, with your YouTube channel, which if you want to check that out, it's youtube.com/OCP Communications. Mike does a lot of movie reviews and more. You want to find out what the more is? Head over there. And I'm not even going to plug my YouTube channel until later. I'm going to make you earn it, not like anyone cares. So, yeah, anyway, let's get into these segments.
The first
here.
case, hopefully it'll be worth the wait, and hopefully it is Mark Adams. This is from season 1. I believe it was on episode 8 or 9, somewhere around there. And I remember this one way back in the day. Like, I think I remember seeing this one when I was a kid, because I remember the whole sequence where these guys in ski masks go up and one of the guys guns down these teenagers hanging out in a dugout.
Like, it always just...
Yeah, I'm going to stick this bat up your ass and turn you into a popsicle.
I knew you'd get that reference.
Yeah, yeah, it was just pretty terrifying, because you just imagine that. You just hang out with your buddies, and then here comes these fucking guys in ski masks, and then one of them pulls out a rifle and starts shooting.
And it's shows like these... which are the very reason why people don't hang out in baseball dugouts late at night, because you got shit like this in your head going on, like, I bet someone in a ski mask is going to come up and gun me down. Why don't I not do that?
Precisely. So Mark Adams was a gunman who had committed a string of armed robberies. His stealing came to an end one night in 1984 when he and 2 other gunmen had finished a holdup and were discussing dividing their loot in the forest. Unbeknownst to them, however, The woods were near a baseball diamond, where 3 high school friends and students had been drinking beer. Frightened at being overheard, the gunman confronted the students and ordered them to leave, as well as to hand over any money or valuables that they had in their pockets. When one of the boys, Mike Ridnor, refused, Adams shot him execution style.
Which, let me interject for a second. In the scene there or whatever, the guys in the ski mask are like, give us your wallets, and the other boys are, in the dugout like, hey man, just get out of here. And then at that point, that really deep sawtooth like synthesizer comes in with that low note, that and anytime you hear that in Unsolved Mysteries, you're fucked. I mean, anytime that low synthesizer comes in, some shit's about to go down. So I loved how they did that in the segment.
Yeah, that was really well done. Eventually, all 3 of the gunmen were captured by California state troopers. Yeah, straight troopers.
Straight troopers.
Mark Adams was found guilty of grand theft and first-degree murder. For his brutalities, he was remanded to maximum security San Quentin Prison, which had gained the reputation as the most notorious prison in California after Alcatraz was decommissioned in 1963 and houses such notorious criminals as Charles Manson. Now, this segment originally aired as a part of the Alcatraz special, but on the Amazon Prime episodes, they put this segment in some other episode. I can understand why. Because this really didn't have anything to do with Alcatraz. They just threw it in there to stretch the running time out.
It was kind of reminiscent of the Alcatraz one, though. When I was watching it, I almost thought for a second, is this the Alcatraz one? I was like, no, this is something different. But
what I liked about it is because you had this intense, crazy, brutal murder, this just senseless murder of this teenager gunned down in a baseball diamond, and then you also have this daring escape. So surprisingly, the regimented life of San Quentin seemed to have a positive effect on Adams. He was a model prisoner. This seems to be a normal theme with these people who escape, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're model prisoners. They do all this stuff to be able to get all these privileges. And then once they get the privileges to be able to, kind of skirt the rules or get out of the prison and go to some other place. I know there's this other guy who I think he had the job of cleaning up and maintaining some cabin somewhere near a reservoir next to prison.
I know what segment you're talking about. Yeah, they gave him way too much leniency.
So, but also that honestly sucks for people who actually are model prisoners, who aren't planning on escaping, who are planning just on, doing their time and leaving. A lot of them aren't really given those opportunities anymore because of these fucking guys. So surprisingly, the regimented life of San Quentin seems to have a positive effect on Adams. Prison guards recall Adams as never being in violation of the rules and taking advantage of volunteer shops, academic classes, chapel services, or anything available that could get him out of his cell. Mark Adams would have been considered eligible for parole in 2007. One afternoon in 1986, he told a guard that he had access to an area of the prison he normally was not allowed, showing authorization papers to meet with the dental officer, which apparently, I guess, is the dentist. But they call him a dental officer.
But he has a gun.
He's an officer of the teeth, of dental hygiene. The guard, who normally did not allow inmates safe passage in order to proceed to the infirmary, did not suspect anything out of the ordinary. A couple of hours later, Adams was not in his cell during the routine 8-hour check. San Quentin was placed on lockdown, but there was no sign of Adams. Authorities were perplexed at how Mark Adams managed to flee San Quentin, a prison many call escape-proof. And they drew three theories. So they came up with 3 theories, and here they are. The first one is this. Adams had managed to scale one of the 25-foot walls, despite being earmarked as kill zones, in which guards are authorized to open fire on inmates. The theory is the least believable, as guards are posted at the battlements and would have likely spotted Adams, but the positions were predictable and the possibility could have occurred that Adams could have taken advantage of possibly distracted guard who considered his posting routine. Yep. And they actually shot it in the prison. So that's another interesting thing about this segment. And I think this is one of the first shows that were ever actually allowed in the prison to begin with.
Yeah, it was.
The second theory is that about 20 to 30 service vehicles enter and exit San Quentin each day, such as garbage trucks and food service vans. Said vehicles are subject to rigorous inspection, but Adams could have hid in one part of the vehicle where he was undetected. Theory number three. Adams acquired and donned civilian clothes, mingled with people at the visitor center, and made his way to freedom when the visitors were ushered out by guards. This theory is the most believable, as it would have been the easiest for Adams to accomplish. I think that's the one. I think that's the one that he used, and I think that's what happened.
Well, you know what's funny is, like, all three of these methods have been used previously, like, in either other segments or on other shows. Like, I almost got away with it and stuff like that. Yeah. There was one where I Almost Got Away with It, where the guy did escape underneath this.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I was going to mention that one, and he held on for all this time, but eventually.
And then the semi went down this, took this detour down this gravelly road, and the rocks were just like shooting up at him as he's holding on, and he thought he was going to die in that moment, and and then scaling the wall, that's happened before in another Unsolved Mystery segment.
I think the one with the guy who was hanging on the bottom, I think he thought he was going to get away, and then it turned around. I think,
went back to the jail. Idiot, dumbass.
So he escaped, but he was actually eventually captured. He was eventually captured in 1993 in Puerto Rico. He was killed by guards during a fight in prison on March 7th, 1994.
Puerto Rico! Now all my neighbors hate me and think I'm fucking nuts. Good job, Josh. Whatever.
Is Rico Suave? Is he from Puerto Rico?
Nah, I don't fucking know. I'd be surprised if he is
Gerardo.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that guy is from.
I think he was an actor before he did the Rico Suave thing.
Segundo bando rento bando quero.
I actually know that.
I just remember Weird Al's parody of that Taco Grande.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, Mark Adams was a pretty clever guy who escaped what is considered to be one of the unescapable prisons, but he eventually got captured and got shot in a fight. So
now, was this before or after Johnny Cash played there, I wonder?
It's probably after.
Well, because I was going to say, dude, if you just hung out for a little bit longer, you could have seen Johnny Cash for free, so...
It's probably way after, because this is in 1986.
Oh, yeah, way after. Okay, yeah, that is way after.
So, I don't know what else to say about the case. I just thought it would be a fun one to talk about because of the whole, you got the crazy, creepy opening sequence, and then you have the escape, and the segment did a great job showing how these different theories might have happened. And the novelty of it actually being shot in the real prison.
Yeah, I mean, like, anytime anybody says it's an unescapable prison, stop saying that shit about things. Like, stop saying the Titanic was unsinkable ship, and Alcatraz was unescapable. Human ingenuity is always going to supersede any of that shit that man can come up with. Even if it boiled down to the prisoner was able to manipulate one of the guards into helping him and he escapes. Okay, well there you go. That's still a way to escape.
Yeah.
I mean, until you have robots who are patrolling these places and
until you have RoboCop.
Yeah, or like there's like a smart prison where everything's like there's Wi-Fi detections and Bluetooth sensors.
Well, that didn't matter either because Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger still escaped from that prison in Escape Plan.
I've never seen it. Is that a surprise though? So yeah, I mean, like
you look like a vegetarian.
God,
because that was one of the lines in the movie. That was pretty bad. And then like
with the Celebrity Apprentice, there's too much baggage.
There's too much baggage because Trump doesn't like the show and he's making fun of me on Twitter.
Donald Trump's still making money off the show, therefore people won't watch it. Baggage, Anyway,
Yeah. Don't say things like that. Don't say, "Oh, my computer," or this certain thing, our government is unhackable, or this is unhackable. Clearly, we know that your phones can be hacked into and all this other shit thanks to this WikiLeaks. So, yeah, better make sure to keep your porn history really, really, really secret. Like,
well, what if I'm not ashamed of anything that I jerk off to?
well, there's that too.
See, Mike, not everybody looks at the sick, perverted, twisted stuff that you do online. Some of us don't care if our porn history gets out there to the public. I wouldn't be one of those people, but I'm sure there are people out there who wouldn't care.
So anyway, okay, this is an awkward segue.
Yeah, see, you didn't deny it.
Well, no, because I really don't watch that kind of stuff. It's not my thing. But anyway, we're going into the next segment, one that I chose from the requests. I don't know exactly who requested you. Do you know who requested this one, Josh?
Oh, this is a request. Cool. No, I have no earthly idea where these requests have come from. I mean, at this point, it's pretty much like the dude who found the plates in the ground and started Mormonism. That's pretty much these requests. It's like, I don't even know where they came from. They're on my computer that I'm looking at here. And yeah, if you're out there and you're listening to the podcast and you live in the Chicago area, no, I'm just joking. But no, if you're out there and you're listening to this and and this is your request, then, say, hey, thanks for covering that. That was my request, or something to that nature. So we at least know who did it. Or,
yeah, we'd appreciate that.
You don't even have to say thanks. You can say, hey, that was my request. You did a really shitty job on talking about it. You can say that, too. I mean, it's totally up to you.
Anyway, one of the requests was Beverly McGowan. And this was from season 4. And I do remember this one as well, because I thought this would be a good one to talk about eventually anyway in the show, because it has these pretty crazy twists and turns. It starts out as just like a missing persons case, and then it becomes a murder case, and then it also becomes a fraud case. So it's like all three of these crimes all wrapped up into one.
There's some good stuff here. It's a good request.
So in July of 1990, bank clerk Beverly McGowan vanished from her Florida condo. Letters sent to her friends and family from her claimed that she was starting a new life. Besha read the letters, and that's always eerie to me. You know, whenever you hear these letters from these people who disappeared or are dead or something, and it's the actual letter that they're reading off of too. It's not like some made up stuff. So, however, Beverly's mutilated body was soon discovered dumped in a remote canal in southern Florida. Now, before all that happened, though, the segment actually did kind of go back. It went back and sort of had some puzzle pieces and put them together. So her relatives, her family, and her friends realized that before she disappeared, she had gotten this job as a bank clerk. She finally was able to get a job as a loan officer. Actually, was making a good amount of money. Got her own place at an apartment, a condo, I believe, in Florida. And she had made a nice little living for herself. She actually started advertising for a roommate, and this woman named Alice decided to take her up on that offer. Alice, she assumed she was a really nice British woman, and Alice was into New Age numerology, just like Beverly was. And Beverly gave her some random numbers for the numerology. First off, I'm sorry. It's okay. If you believe in this kind of stuff, to each their own. But I think it's bullshit. Numerology, astrology, tarot cards, all that shit is bullshit. None of it really makes any difference, and it doesn't predict anything.
Sorry, I thought I just heard someone outside. That's one thing about living in these like neighborhoods where the houses are really close together. I mean, there could be somebody.
I always feel like somebody's watching me.
That song was only popular because Michael Jackson sang the chorus. But now, like someone could be like shutting their door in the house right next to me, and it literally sounds like it's in my front yard. But no, Yeah, when I heard that numerology and all that other kind of stuff, I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Some more of this hippity-dippity bullshit that people have always been into, even to this day. I know there's a handful of my Facebook friends who have the tinfoil hats on who, like, believe in all this stuff. And I'm just going to say...
There's psychics that are right in my neighborhood, like right down the street over by Walmart and places like that.
No, I mean, psychics, I mean, that's kind of a slightly different thing, because I do feel like people can be more in tune with things. But I mean, I believe in psychics.
There's a lot of psychics that are just bullshit.
Charlatans. Yeah, there's a lot of charlatan psychics out there, and I'm very skeptical, but I do believe that psychics can be a thing. But when it comes to,
like Dorothy Allison,
yeah, totally, and James Von Prague and people like that, definitely not Jonathan Edwards or whatever his name was, that fucking dude.
Crossing over.
Yeah, the cold reading or whatever. But yeah, my opinion on all that stuff is, I think it's bullshit too. I'll take it a step further and say, like, and I think you probably already mentioned it, like the Zodiac stuff. Like, oh my god, I hate it. It's like so popular with chicks too. Like, I run into so many chicks who like.
Well, it seems like it's written for them. Like, if I go and get an astrology sort of report, and usually it's written for women. So you have this new love in your life, and da 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 da. And I'm like, how does this apply to me?
Mike, are you saying only women can love? You just made that a gender thing. Triggered. I'm triggered.
No, I'm just saying, like, they're really seriously. There's more than just that. I mean, it's just the way things are written. You can tell.
Well, my whole thing about, like, the Zodiac shit, like horoscopes and stuff like that. Okay, someone give your
horoscope for today.
Man, you are just full of song and dance today. You're in a very joyous mood. That's good. It's a good thing. It's like I read my Zodiac I'm a Virgo or whatever. So I read
I'm a Taurus.
Okay, cool.
I'm a bull.
I'm a virgin. Apparently, Virgo is a virgin. That is like the farthest thing from the truth. Already, it's starting off on a bad foot with me because I haven't been a virgin for a very long time. Anyway, so I'm reading my horoscope or whatever, and yeah, it says some shit that relates to me. Like, yeah, totally, okay, yeah. But then what I do is I go and I read the other horoscopes for the other zodiac signs, and those relate to me too in some ways. Yep. So they're so broad and generic.
Extremely vague.
Yeah, they're so vague that it's a catch-all, and it's written in such a way to where it says things about you that you are going to want to believe about yourself. Like you are a very decisive decision maker, and you act quickly, or you don't. It
tells you what you want to hear, and in a lot of ways, it's kind of it's a lot like a placebo.
Yeah, right.
So this woman, Beverly. She ended up giving her these numbers, and at first she wasn't giving her any personal information, like any type of numbers that could be used for identity theft. But then later, because she's so enthralled with this numerology thing, she actually ends up giving this woman, she barely even knows, she doesn't even know this woman, except for these few times that she's been with her, and I guess she's a house guest, I guess she's a roommate, but they're not friends or anything. Or at least really good friends who've known each other for years. And she starts giving her passport number and this other sort of identification numbers. And so Alice gives her an updated prediction or an updated numerology report and basically says that there's somebody in your family who you're really close to who's going to betray you, who's going to cause problems for you in your life. And that's going to prevent you from having this fame and fortune, or not really fame and fortune, but having this fortune that she predicted for her, that she was going to come into a large sum of money and stuff like that. She should have taken the advice, but related it towards Alice, because pretty soon after all of that happened, she disappeared. She sent the letter to her friends and her family. She disappeared, and then her body was discovered in a remote canal in southern Florida. Now, prepare yourselves for this one, folks. This is really, really brutal. So her body was not only found in the canal, but her body was severely mutilated. The killer had decapitated her, had cut off her hands, had cut off a tattoo on her back, but missed a second flower on her ankle, which was used to be able to identify her. They also chopped off other parts of her body as well. So it was just a very grisly scene.
Yeah, this is where the psychopath / sociopath aspect comes into it, because, you know, the whole time Allison was just playing her like a fiddle. You know, they know how, as was quoted in another Unsolved Mysteries segments, these people know how to play the game of life. They know how to act like human beings, but they're not actually human beings. And so
Alice was playing her like a heart from hell.
Yeah, and you know, she endeared. It's like, how can somebody who can have this like bedside manner then turn around and cut off the hands and head and just cut off a piece of flesh that had the tattoo?
Maybe she didn't do it. Maybe someone else did. Maybe her accomplice did. But see, that's the thing. We don't really know who did this. Was it specifically her, or was it her companion, who also showed up as well? Police immediately set their suspicion on a new roommate, a British woman known only as Alice, who used Beverly's identity to escape to England. The woman has been seen since using Beverly's identity as well as her credit cards. It's apparently just a day after her death, or a day after they found her body, or the same day, or somewhere around there, she was going on a spending spree with her credit cards. And after Beverly's death, a man posing as her used her credit card to purchase airline tickets to London. And it was a guy in drag, and the reenactment was well done. And this guy comes in, and he's got this fake British accent, and he goes into this travel agency. And the travel agent is interviewed too. He's like, "Yeah, I thought it looked like a man. He looked like a man." So they have this composite of him too, and it's really creepy. This like sketch of Sam. It's got this wild like 80s metal hair, these weird looking glasses. It's got this stern look on his face. Looks like a caveman. So anyway, they actually did identify who Alice was. She was identified as Elaine Antoinette's parent, a career con artist who had apparently been involved in multiple different instances of fraud and identity theft, and possibly even murder as well. She had the nickname of the Chameleon Killer, which is a great nickname, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And using a string of disguises, she eluded capture for 12 years until April 2002, when the police finally caught up with her. She was in her pajamas. They actually mentioned this, so I thought it was interesting. I thought it was like a intriguing thing to mention, like, oh, she was in her pajamas, and they allowed her to change clothes. And she ended up taking her life with a .357 Magnum to the heart to avoid capture. This might be a great closure to Beverly's family, but it left much of the secrets of her bizarre lifestyle and criminal career unanswered. As for Sam, he was never identified, and he has never been found.
Also, nice little side note here, the bitch wasn't British. She had concocted a perfect British accent to fool people. She was actually from the States.
She was from New York or something like that. Yeah. Somewhere in New York.
And another side note, just for my personal opinion, I'm sorry, guys, but she was hot. Like, she was very physically appealing to me. Yeah. I thought she was pretty hot. Not saying anything, not like justifying it.
She had that sort of Sharon Stone look about her in one of those pictures of the short hair.
I found her attractive, and that's probably one of the tools that she used to endear herself to people so she could get what she wanted. I thought it was funny how she died, because like the cops showed up and they're like, she's like, oh, I'm in my pajamas, and they, allowed her to change, and she goes into the back room and she kills herself. you know, this happens from time to time. You'll hear about this. And all I can think is, man, these people have a contingency plan in the back of their head the whole time. They're like, if the cops ever show up, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put a bullet in my heart because I'm such a vain narcissist. I don't want to actually shoot myself in the head. I want to have a pretty corpse, you know. And it's, you know, because you don't get a wild hair up your ass and do something like that. So it's crazy because it's like, you almost have to be prepared to die at any moment when you jump into that life of like manipulation and like, you know, fraud and murder and all that.
Yeah.
You literally, not only do you have to carry around the fact that you killed somebody, which obviously these people don't give a fuck about because, you know, they're crazy, but you also have to walk around knowing that like, I can die at any moment, you know, which, I mean, granted, yes, anybody can die at any moment, but the chances, it's like times 10 with people like that.
Yeah.
The cops
But also, I mean, it just, this whole thing leaves a lot of unanswered questions. Like, what's going on with her chameleon killer antics? Like, how did she do all this? So, like, what were her tricks? What were all this? And also, why did she kill Beverly? All she had was $1,000. I mean, if it was for the money, I mean, that's not a lot. That's not a lot of money.
Must have been a crime of opportunity. She found someone she could prey on. Maybe she was expecting there'd be more money. She found there was only 1,000, which, I mean, you know, back in the fucking 90s was like 3,000 in today's money. But, you know, it was a couple thousand in today's money. And, you know, she was just like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm that desperate. You know, I'll go with it. You know, these people also get a high off of this stuff too. It's not. It's not all about the money for them. You know, it's a high. It's you know.
That's a typical sociopathic behavior. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the only things that gets their heart rate pumping. You know, is murder and doing this kind of shit. It's like the same kind of people who break into people's houses. Actually, stealing stuff is only half of the thrill for them. You know, the other half is actually breaking into somewhere they're not supposed to be and. You know,
well, there's other people too who just break in and steal stuff because of the situation that they're in life. I mean, there's a lot of people who are just dirt poor and they just do a lot of crazy things because that's the only way that they can really make any money.
You have anything you'd like to admit to us, Mike?
No.
You seem to have some very quick information about the motive of robbery there.
I don't. I've just seen, you know, shows.
How exactly did you accumulate all those VHS tapes, Mike, having no money? In fact, where did you get that new chair from that you're sitting in right now?
I paid for it from the money that I made from YouTube. What are you trying? What are you insinuating?
Oh, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm simply asking questions. Why are you getting so defensive? If your name is even Mike. No, it probably is. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. You could be out there. Stealing and doing all that stuff. And I mean, as long as I don't know about it, then I can't be held culpable for your actions. So, just don't tell me if you are.
Nah, folks, I'm not that type of person.
Yes, this side of your personality isn't that type of person, but there's another side to Mike that nobody knows about. That is that type of person, isn't there, Mike? You're guilty. Just admit it. Guys,
no, I'm not.
I've had a little too much caffeine today. I apologize.
Apparently.
So yeah, I think that's all there is to be said about that one, right?
Yep, that's all I got to say.
That was a good request. Whoever the hell requested that, I don't remember. You know what's crazy to me is like me and Mike have our own, I guess, ways that we see that we were able to see the unsolved mysteries or whatever. I'm wondering, like. Some of these people who give me these requests, I'm looking at them, I'm like, this is not an internet savvy person because, you know, they might be elderly or something. I'm like, this person, like, legitimately remembers this segment from, like, 20 years ago and remembers the name and everything.
Well, there's probably some people who are internet savvy. Come on. I mean, we have a lot of people who are our age who listen to this show.
Yeah, and that doesn't, you know, okay, they probably downloaded it somehow. They found it. But then there's, like, other
Or
people.
they remember certain segments they saw on Lifetime when they were kids or teenagers. I remember certain segments.
I guess for me it's like I remember, but like I don't remember the names or anything. I just remember like the
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't remember the names either, but they probably might have looked it up.
Yeah, but to put the segment, the fuzzy segment memory with the actual name, I mean, that's
Well,
impressive. Anyway.
I ended up doing that with the. Well, actually, I didn't find that segment out about the businessman guy who burned down his car until I just saw the segment again. I was like, oh shit, it's that segment, and then I figured it out. But yeah, it's one of those things that. But also, there's people who have never seen the show who are now seeing the show for the first time, which is really cool.
Yeah,
thanks to Amazon Prime.
I think that's awesome. And I mean, I think that any company, that releases something like this, that's absolutely what they want to see as far as showing that the venture was a success as far as acquiring the Unsolved Mysteries rights and all that. Not only do you have the old listeners coming back, but you have new listeners and a new audience, I think one of our Patreons, Eric, was commenting on our Patreon page saying that I think he was saying something like his kids watch the show now or something thanks to our podcast, or if I was reading
interesting.
It. Yeah, which I thought, I mean, talk about a high compliment. I mean, that was fantastic.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Although, how young are these kids?
Well, hey, you know what? If they watch it at a young age, that's the prime age to mess them up to turn out
I'm just
like
talking about the podcast. I mean, this is explicit lyrics.
Oh, well, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
But hey, if they can handle it, no skin off my back.
I think when I have kids, I don't know. Like, as far as language, I don't know if I'm gonna censor that. I mean, obviously,
yeah, I probably, unless they tell me to fuck off, then I'm
right.
Not,
I'll make it understood that Well, I don't know. See, with kids, like they don't.
The kid comes in and says, "Fuck you, daddy."
And, I don't know.
Go fuck yourself, you bitch.
You're not gonna do shit. You're only my stepdad. Oh, what'd you say, little motherfucker?
I mean, you gotta kick that.
It depends on the kid, I guess. I mean, like all kids have different responsibility levels.
But I feel if I'm not ready to have kids at all. I can't handle kids right now. But if I ever got into that situation, I mean, I would like to. I really would not shelter my kid. I don't think I'm gonna like ban them from watching certain things. They can figure it out on their own. If the kid can handle something, some horror or whatever, cool. If they can't, then I won't show that to them. But if they can handle it and they can tell the difference between a practical makeup effect or special effects and reality, then I think they can handle it. I think the worst thing to do is to shelter them and ban them from doing certain things or seeing certain stuff, because then when they get older, they're just gonna binge it. It's gonna be like a drug addict. It's just like everything, all of it.
Well, and that would be fine if that's what they wanted to do. But I think one of the problems that comes with sheltering kids is they grow up with a very small worldview, and it can allow them to become very judgmental and opinionated about shit that they really have no experience or knowledge
about. Well, also,
about.
It makes them susceptible for addiction to other sort of things because they've never been exposed to it. So when they first get exposed to it, it's like, oh, wow, this carnal sin, and it just becomes this really, really hard thing for them to stop doing.
Oh, well, that's how it was. That's how it was with swearing. Like, we weren't allowed to swear growing up. Obviously, I mean, we weren't allowed to watch certain things, and we went to. Well,
that's with me. I mean, I was not allowed. My mom, she did a great job raising me, but I was not allowed to swear when I was a kid, and I wasn't allowed to watch horror films.
So R-rated movies. Horror films.
Exactly. I swear I watch horror movies. I watch rated R, stuff. So. Yeah, I mean.
Hey guys, how do you like hearing two late 20-something guys who have no kids talk about how you should raise kids? you enjoying this at all? Is getting to any yet? I can see so many parents right now with balled up fists, just like, I'm gonna keep listening, but I don't like this. They don't know what it's like. Yeah, you're damn right. I don't know what it's like, but I do.
No, I don't. But I'm just thinking about ahead of time. I've seen examples. I'm using the example of how my parents raised me, and I think that's the way that a lot of parents should look at. I mean, look at their past and look at the other sort of experiences they have with parenting from their own parents, and improve upon it in some ways.
Yeah, true that. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I had way too overactive of an imagination as a kid, so there were some things I probably should not have seen that I did that did kind of desensitize me at a very young age to things. But, I don't know, man. Like, in other countries, like, kids get desensitized to, like, death and war and shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's life to a certain extent, man. There's ugly shit. It's like these suburban, like, uppity parents, keep their kids insulated in this little bubble. And it's like, that's not the world. That's not reality. That's the world you've created for them temporarily. But they're eventually going to have to get out there and experience it for themselves. They're going to have to, like, have someone.
I wonder if that's where a lot of these social justice warriors, they got their mentality from. Because they've been in a bubble their whole life.
The thing about social justice warriors that annoys me is that they're always wanting to impose their ideology on everybody else when they're not realizing that they kind of need to adjust to the world that they live in, because the world they live in is the world they live in. And not everybody on the street is going to adjust to their thinking, and it's not going to be this teachable moment to where, oh, you've just enlightened me, now I'm going to change my way, social justice.
Yeah, I just got woke.
Yeah, thank you for waking me up to this, and now it's like, no, they're going to tell you to go fuck yourself, or they might
They're
kick
so
your
full
ass.
of themselves. They're so full of themselves.
And
anyway, speaking of battles,
first, I'm
war.
I'm not advocating kicking somebody's ass, but I guess the example I was trying to make was that, some extreme people who are very opinionated in another way might be like, whatever, at a bar or what. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
because I'm in bars a lot with that shit. Anyway, going into battles, fighting battles. Just fucked up that beautiful segue of yours, Mike. It's like you're playing a Stradivarius in a concert hall, and I just walked up all muddy like, hey, can I have $1? You're just like, who is this guy? Get him out of here. He's fucking up my song.
Get out of here, Barney.
Sorry, Homer.
So anyway, the next segment is a ghost segment.
Yes, and I picked this one. This is one I get to do this week because I've been so busy. I was like, hey, Mike, can you do 2 segments this week? Because, like, I don't have time to, like, watch. And because, like, a lot of times Mike will just read the Wikia, which is fine. I have a much less efficient method where I actually watch the segment and do, like take notes that way. And it's a lot longer, but I feel like it kind of captures the unsolved mysteries essence.
I do that every now and then with certain cases, but especially ones that the Wikia is just terrible and doesn't give me any information. But I think I just try to just get the case out there. I already have what I want to talk about, mention, and then there's that.
Like I said, my method is by no means the better method. It is much more time consuming.
It's a different method, and it's an equally effective method.
Yes.
They're both good methods.
Much more time consuming though, because a lot of times I'm like, oh wait, what did they say? Got to pause, go back. Oh, got to get that. Yes.
Oh, like the Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh my God, that took me like 2 hours to write the notes for that. Holy shit. Oh, great. So anyway, I'm more into the paranormal stuff, so like I had to get a ghost one in here because like I don't like the podcast we do where it's like 3 straight murders, or not because I'm like squeamish or anything, but I just feel like it's not enough variety. So I felt like I wanted to get a ghost one in here. And there's several kind of Civil War era kind of ghost stories on Unsolved Mysteries. The other one being the preserve that used to be like a where you'd register to be in the on the Union side. If it's in California, it's some like
I think it's a reserve, not a preserve.
Preserve, what the fuck ever. It's
was it preserve like a wildlife? So there's a preserve where
it's
people.
Grape jelly. It's preserve. I don't know. It's it's a museum. That's where I'm looking for. It's like a museum.
Oh, okay.
It's haunted. Okay.
All right.
This is another thing, but it also has to do with the Civil War
and ghosts.
Yes. So the obvious scars have healed, But 132 years ago, at the height of the Civil War, this was hell on earth. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where Confederate and Union armies, 170,000 strong, converged on the small town of 2,400. Both sides dead set and determined not to yield an inch. 3 days of ferocious combat left some 50,000 casualties. Holy shit. For an actual war that took place on our soil, 50,000 casualties.
Civil War was one of the bloodiest and most harrowing and very influential wars, in our country. And it also, it's in some ways, it's considered you can consider it a good point in history, but in other ways, it's not a good point at all because we were fighting each other. But it was
I honestly
a necessity in some aspects.
I honestly believe that for a lot of the kind of, I feel like we could have a civil war today, and it would be like the same sides fighting against each other. It would be the South fighting against pretty much everywhere else in the country. Like I believe that like.
I don't think what I think a civil war would happen would be the citizens versus the government. That's what I think it would be.
I think, I'm not going to get into politics anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not an expert on that either. But I mean, just seeing the sort of people who were just really kind of, they feel like they're being taken advantage of, or they feel like the government is screwing them over, or, they might get to the point where that boils over into a full-on civil war. I don't want that to happen. I really don't. I mean, there was way too much loss of life in the Civil War when we actually had one.
But I think to myself, some of that life that was lost was shitty-ass slave owners who wanted to keep owning slaves. Those people didn't need to be alive, in my opinion. So some of it was like... good. I mean, like people who. I'm
not even gonna touch that subject, but I mean, there were certain people that maybe, but that I'm not really gonna say for sure. Yeah, they deserve to die, but I mean, there was other people. Maybe justice, sure, like some sort of form of justice. There's other people who died on the front lines who, honestly, weren't slave owners. They weren't, they're kids.
I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, but I'm saying like that was one of the big issues was slavery.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I said. It was a necessity because in order for slavery to finally be abolished, had to have the Civil War, and the Union had to win.
All I'll say about it is I feel like if you look at things now and back then, I think that the more things change, the more things stay the same in a lot of ways. So anyway, the 3 days of ferocious combat left some 50,000 casualties. The creeks literally ran red with blood. Some say Gettysburg is still haunted by ghosts of those cut down before their time. Historian Mark Nesbitt comes in at this point saying, at Gettysburg there was so much emotional energy that was expended in such a short period of time. From the 15-year-old kid that was scared to death that he'd never make it home, to the 40-year-old man who'd just been shot through the lungs, who was dying, thinking about his family. So much emotional energy was expended at Gettysburg, you'd have to think that some of it must remain. Many of the ghosts have been reported by Civil War buffs known as reenactors. Dressed in period costumes, they restaged the epic Battle of Gettysburg.
And that's kind of ironic or crazy, They just reenact the Civil War all the time, like it's just a game. But
well, I was gonna say because I love how Unsolved Mysteries has to like feel the need to explain what reenactors, Civil War reenactors are. Civil War buffs known as reenactors, also known as virgins. Joking.
It's like LARPing, but it's with Civil War.
LARPing
here, yeah.
What's that?
Live action role playing.
Oh, right. Yes. From our Kirk McFall segment that we talked about. Yes. So they're dressed in period costumes. They restaged the epic battle of Gettysburg blow by blow. Ray Hawk says he and a friend were taking a break from one of these mock skirmishes when he says he was approached by a haggard figure too realistic just to be another reenactor. And that's quoting him here saying, I think I seen a ghost. I think this guy had original equipment on. Original coat, everything. To me, it points that it was all original, the real McCoy. He smelled extremely bad. A sulfur odor. He really looked tired and he was hollow in the face. Ray says the man handed each of them 2 authentic-looking cartridges. When they looked up, the man had disappeared.
The moment where that particular ghost sighting goes off the rails is when he says he handed him authentic cartridges. I've never heard of any other ghost case where any ghost ever hands anybody anything that is actually a real prop or like a real actual authentic item of some kind.
Well, then at that point, Ray says, I simply don't know where he got to. This is one of the 4 rounds he gave myself and my friend. He actually holds up one of the rounds. Live ammunition hasn't been allowed at Gettysburg for over 100 years, but according to Ray Hawk, a university expert determined that the cartridges, powder and all, were Civil War issue, vintage 1863. The Battle of Gettysburg raged for 3 long days. Each day, darkness brought a lull in the fighting. The moaning of the wounded filled the hot, humid air. Soldiers that survived picked their way through the battlefield, searching for fallen comrades, a search that many believe continues to this day. In the summer of 1993, the 130th anniversary of the battle, a group of friends were at Gettysburg for reenactments. One evening, they hiked along a creek called Bloody Run. Now, if you were wanting to avoid seeing ghosts, perhaps you would stay away from a creek called Bloody Run. That's just me. I'm no scientist.
Stay away from Bloody Run.
So one of the hikers says, I was walking along with my wife when we stopped along the trail. And this is at nighttime, mind you. He appeared to be a man laying there, but he wasn't solid like you and I are. He was more of a hazy mist. He was shivering because he looked like he was in a lot of pain. I couldn't go any further. Emotionally, I broke down and cried. I was shaken. I had to actually have someone come back and lead me out of the trail. And the reenactment of the segment or whatever, it shows the guy or whatever. It looks pretty good. It doesn't bother. This time their ghosting effects don't bother me with the whole like see-through people.
Did a car just drive by your house?
Dude,
or something?
there's this fucking douchebag with this motorized bicycle, and I'm not talking a motorcycle or dirt bike. He's literally got He's a rat, and he's riding a bicycle, and it's really annoying, and it's adorable at the same time. No, it's this guy, he's riding this bicycle, and it's like he literally strapped this motor to it, and he just like hauls ass up and down this road. I guess it's his only means of conveyance, but good lord, is it fucking loud. It's louder than a normal motorcycle.
Yeah, clearly, because I could hear it, and also I thought it freaked me out for a second because you were talking about these ghosts at Gettysburg, and then you hear this like,
yep, that's what it really. That was the intention, Mike. It actually wasn't any of that what I just said at all. It was what you were saying. Yep, you caught on. I hired someone outside, a Foley artist outside my window to do that.
I thought you played the segment or something real quick on the TV.
Oh no, I would never do anything like that, John and Terry. If you're listening, I would never do a thing like that. Never did a thing like that either. Prove it. Anyway, Richard and his wife were the only ones who had seen the apparition. Soon after Richard's sighting, though, his brother David and a few others headed out to an area called the Slaughter Pen. They didn't get far. And the reenactment shows...
God, these names.
I mean, they're kind of badass, but very brutal at the same time.
And at the same time, it's like, don't go there.
Yeah. Let's go to Hacky Hack / Kill Mountain. That sounds like a pretty good view for some bird watching.
How about Rape Place?
Rape Place. Yeah, let's go to the Suicide Center. That sounds like they got a killer hamburger there. Sorry, I did a little short one there. I don't know. So they didn't get far. In the reenactment, they show this like ghostly figure, and he's carrying a lantern, which was actually pretty cool. And the guy says, that stat comes in saying the Phantom was gone after because it appeared and then it disappeared. The Phantom was gone, but the sounds of the night suggested that they were still not alone. And then his brother David is quoting as saying, I was hearing cannon shots and drum rolls and men marching on the road. It sounded like it was getting closer, so I said to everybody, okay, it's time to go. Now that's scary, but that's so badass though, dude. Like, you're out where the Civil War took place in Gettysburg. You're at the slaughter pen, and you see this apparition. It's so scary. But then not only that, but you start hearing gunfire from muskets, and you start hearing drum rolls, like Civil War era shit that happened. Because now they don't do that kind of stuff, like drum rolls and shit. That's like some old school war stuff. You start hearing drum rolls and these soldiers. It's just so like kind of cool, and it kind of makes your hair stand up on end at the same time to think about. Ron Waddell, who is credited on this show as a living history interpreter. Now, what does that sound like to you? Oh, I'm a living history interpreter. Living history. Okay, that's ghosts, obviously, right? Living history. Because history is of the past, so if it's still living. So he's a ghost guy, But I just thought that was the funniest euphemism I'd ever heard for, like, a ghost guy. A living history interpreter. That's like being a cashier at Walmart and putting on your resume, oh, I was a monetary exchange technician. It's a little lofty there in your titles. But anyway, they got him on here, and he's talking about, what his encounter with the group the next day, and he's saying, we had a saying in Vietnam called the 1,000-yard stare. That's when a soldier saw too much too often. One of the young men that had seen this, he had that. Something was definitely beyond the normal. So, I guess based off one of the witnesses, he had this 1,000-yard stare going on the next day after seeing the ghost, so he was, and that's kind of one thing about this segment where I kind of call bullshit, because this is literally all anecdotal evidence. They made a segment about this literally based on people's stories. Yeah. Like, they didn't get...
that's how I felt about the bullet thing. I'm like, this is what I think happened. The guy found a vintage Civil War era bullet on the battlefield while he was doing reenactment or something, or he was working on setting it up. He came up with this story that a ghost gave him the bullet, and that's what happened. Because I've never heard of any instance of any of the other ghost sort of sightings that I've read about or seen in other footage or other videos or other documentaries where the ghost ever hands somebody a physical object.
Right. That kind of ghostly energy can kind of, because there was an Unsolved Mystery segment where these $50 started to materialize around this lady's house. And it was attributed to, ghostly kind of...
That can happen, but there isn't an apparition that's literally handing them,
right, 'cause it's
them these coins.
Stranger things have happened, though. Not much stranger, but
that would have to be like the one case, the only recorded case that I can think of is this guy who's a Civil War reenactor who found a Civil War bullet that he got from a ghost.
Look, Mike, it took Patrick Swayze a while to get the ability to touch stuff in his ghost form, but he eventually got it, okay? He was able to kick the can. He was able to manipulate things even in his ghost form. Do you know nothing about history? Because that was a real thing in all, the movie Ghost. So historian Mark Nebbit chimes in again, and he says, the patterns that emerge tell me that something is going on. And now this I do believe. The patterns that emerge tell me that something is going on out there other than just individual sightings. When 2 or 3 people describe the same thing, something is going on out there that's unexplainable. That I can agree with. Now, is it the exact...
There have been multiple different cases of people seeing apparitions at Gettysburg. So this is also covered on a segment on sightings as well. So there's been a lot of people. There's a lot of people who've seen stuff. So I agree with the whole thing where the energy is captured on the battlefield. It's this very intense energy.
The extent of the stories is kind of up for debate, I guess.
Yeah.
The terror of Gettysburg was not just limited to the battlefield, though. Army surgeons, deluged with wounded, lacking medicine and proper instruments, handled most injuries with one quick treatment, amputation.
Yep. We take a lot of our medical stuff for granted. I mean, back then it was amputation. We're not saving that leg. It's going.
Not going to risk infection, gangrene, staph, MRSA, any of the other things that can happen to a open wound. So just cut it off and sew it up.
People now, that if that happened to them, they just patch it back up, put a cast on it or something, and they'd be fine. But back then, that wasn't an option. So, like the injuries that some of these dumb skateboarders and stupid kids get when they crash and burn and break a leg or get a compound fracture, that kind of thing they can get taken care of now. But if they had that happen to them in the battlefield, they were fucked. They were screwed. That foot is going.
Yet another wonder of the modern medicine. Of the modern medicine? I don't know what. Another wonder of the modern medicine. Many of the men went under amputation of limbs without any anesthetic except for perhaps a shot. That? Yeah, except for a shot of military whiskey. So the Civil War hospital then was the closest descent into hell that these Civil War soldiers would have gotten to.
The reenactment here is fantastic. I always remember this because they did a really good job showing how horrific this.
So then they show this building. It's Pennsylvania Hall, and it served as a field hospital during the battle. Today it houses the offices of Gettysburg College, a 4-year liberal arts school. But the cries of the wounded still echo here. At least that's what the two school administrators reported a few years ago. It was close to midnight. The two women were alone in the building, or so they thought. These two women get into the elevator and they, press a button to go down to the first floor. But instead of going into the first floor, it takes them to the basement. As the doors opened up, you could see the recreation of it's just like a Civil War like hospital room. There are people bodies laying down, and they got like this hacksaw, and they're actually showing them like hacksawing, from behind. They don't actually show like.
Yeah, but it was still a very intense, horrific sequence. I always remember that one because I think when I rented this Ghosts box set, like from Netflix or the library, and then I saw this for the first time, I was like, whoa, whoo, like that's like some Twilight Zone shit right there. Go right down the elevator and then end up in the Civil War era hell hospital.
So historian Mark Nesbitt comes in again saying, quote, "The stench of a hospital was all around, and as they peered out, they panicked. There was nowhere they could go." And it's showing them the reenactment. They're trying to mash the button on the elevator to go back up, but it wouldn't work. Suddenly, one of the orderlies turned and looked at them beseechingly, like he needed help with this horrible task, or to get him out of this forced incarceration that he'd been in for the last 14 decades. The two officials were so shaken by their experience that they never granted a formal interview, but they did share their experiences that night with a security guard named Timon Lynn. I gotta say, this historian Mark Nesbitt, he was quite the descriptor of the stuff going on here. Like, he was very good at painting pictures. I thought he was a very good interview for this segment because he was able to really drive home the imagery and
bring it to life.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he did a great job. But so the security guard here, who was the only one that so again, we're getting second, third hand stories here, but security guard saying, I would have to say that something frightened them. I can't explain it. Although I don't believe in ghosts, I guess to a certain extent I believe that they saw what they said they saw only because I know them as credible people. So you're getting, I'm guessing this guy, or maybe other people that these women told, or that's how this story got out even. And because like these women wouldn't even, well, they said grant a formal interview, so I guess maybe they still could have talked to, historians and stuff like that, but just not like, on TV.
They didn't want to be on TV.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kind of ties into how legitimate their sighting might be. They're like, no, we don't want to be on TV. We don't want people to think we're crazy.
The less somebody has to gain from something like this, the more I believe their story straight up. I mean, if they're not writing a book, if they're not making several TV appearances, which they may or may not be getting
They're not making
for.
crazy stories up where, oh, you gave me a bullet. I'm sorry. That one just is no. That's not what happened.
It's a little on the far-fetched side. The whole gave him a bullet, but I don't know. I mean, when they're saying live ammo hasn't been allowed in Gettysburg for over 100 years.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it could have been found under the ground or something, or on the location somewhere, or maybe he has a bullet and he's just making this shit up.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, he wanted his 15 minutes of fame, and he's already a Civil War reenactor, so he's already got a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah.
So I mean,
well, maybe he's right, and if he's right, cool. I'm wrong, but there's no till I really get proof that says otherwise.
Yeah.
Proof that says that I'm wrong. I'm going to lean towards the skeptic side here with that. But with the other ones, I tend to believe those more because these were places that had, like I said, had a lot of high energy, negative energy. Negative energy, from what I've heard, tends to really linger around and stay in places like this. There's been a lot of loss of life that has happened at Gettysburg and a lot of these places where these people have seen these sightings. And it ties into stuff like sightings at places like the Tower of London, where where there's also been similar horrific things that have happened.
Are such ghostly sightings our products of overheated imagination, shadows turned into figures, fireflies seen as lanterns? Or is it possible that spirits of soldiers who breathed their last breath at Gettysburg are forever stuck there, eternally searching for peace? And that's kind of what the segment ends on. So, like most things, Unsolved Mysteries puts the ball in your court. They they do have a tendency of kind of leading you in a certain direction, I'm not going to lie. But they at least will go the extra step in having a skeptic on the segment, although
I don't think they had a skeptic on this.
They did not have one on this one, but I think with this one, it's so, I think it's so like, it's almost like they're going, yeah, we know these are just stories, and this is what we're just kind of giving you people's stories. We're not. It's not like the Tallman House where there was actual like physical damage done and stuff like that, and I don't know. It's this one just seemed like it didn't really need a skeptic because it's like to me it's not that hard to like, it's not that far-fetched to think that an old like war area where thousands of people died, there's some kind of energy lingering there. Yeah, that's not very hard for me to wrap my mind around.
It's not hard to wrap your mind around people looking for something and seeing what they want to see, especially people who are Civil War reenactors. And so there's that kind of aspect as well of it. But I mean,
that's why I love those shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and shit. I ironically say that I love them because I actually hate them.
I hate those shows
because they literally are going in there with their mind already made up that ghosts are definitely real. There's definitely energies around, and we're going to a place where we will most likely encounter something. So anything we see or hear will fit into our schema of, that's a ghost.
It's total bullshit. I mean, there's stuff where they exaggerate stuff so badly that it's really laughable, actually.
And the funny thing is...
there was one that was like this guy was getting possessed or something, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Like, the thing is you don't know, like, we as the viewer, we don't know even what kind of shit they added in post-production as far as sound effects and noises, or noises that were amplified to make it sound
stuff
louder.
They threw into the video after the fact.
Yeah, because at the end of the
After
day...
Effects or something.
At the end of the day, these shows need to get ratings to stay on TV to make money. So, who gives a fuck if it's real or not as far as they're thinking?
That's why I liked this. I think it was Paranormal State. I think that might what it was called. That one was more credible to me.
Well, that's why I preferred shows like A Haunting and Paranormal Witness and Unsolved Mysteries, because they're not trying to sell you the reality. They're selling you the story, and the story is ultimately what is fascinating to me. not necessarily the
Got
reality.
a bunch of these guys going around with night vision cameras going into some random place. Oh my god! Did you hear that? Holy shit!
Get all of our high tech gadgets out to prove our point that.
Oh my god! Look at the temperature's changed. There's definitely a ghost here. Or the EVPs where they record random nonsense and then they put on the bottom of the screen a subtitle.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite. Like when I did my ghost episode around Halloween of last year, which if you want to check it out and the other videos I've done, it's youtube.com/dancingwithghosts, and you can see that. Oh, that's funny, Dancing with Ghosts. We're talking about ghosts. Anyway, yeah, when I did my ghost episode, I did a lot of research on these shows, and I had to watch a lot of them, which was very painful because a lot of them were just so bad. And my favorite trick that they used was like one of the cheapest tricks in the book. They pull out a recorder, and you know, they try to make this shit look all flashy, but really it's just kind of like light LED lights and cheap recorders. It's nothing. It's nothing that's like NASA quality or NASA grade, you know, like stuff that's actually measuring and giving you. It's little play toys for adults to waste their money on that, you know, might tell them that, oh, we're getting a high reading over here of something. But my favorite thing that they do is they take out a recorder, just like on your phone, like, or your phone might have an audio recorder. They take out a recorder, they record in the air, and then they play it back. But what you're actually hearing is they go in and they amplify the signal, and so you're hearing like all this, you know, like ambient noise, but it's like amplified and it sounds really loud. They take one of those noises and they say, oh my god, did you hear what it said? It just said, let me out. And then they play it back and they put the subtitle down at the bottom of the screen, and through power suggestion, you're like, oh my god, it totally said let me out. But you could have made up literally anything, or almost anything to fit whatever that random noise sounded like, and you could have said, oh, that was something. There's so much bullshit techniques they use on those kind of shows that it's just kind of a laugh to me.
That's why I'd love to see like a parody thing, like a movie where then the ghosts would actually know what they're doing and then like insult them or something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It'd be something like that. It'd be like, you suck.
But yeah, so that is the Gettysburg Ghosts. There's another Gettysburg segment out there having to do with, well, it's not Gettysburg, it's Civil War era though, and it has to do with the museum, which is also pretty cool. But yeah, I like the idea of you know, the reenactors sitting there, and then like, you know, a ghost comes up and he is too authentic for it to be a reenactor. Yeah. You know, like that's cool. Well,
the one that stood out to me most was the hospital one. That's the one that
hitting, you know, the first floor on an elevator, and then it, you know, by its own will going to the basement, and you see all this freaky shit as soon as the doors open. I mean, if that's not straight out of a horror movie, I don't know what is. So
that's what the Civil War was like. It was a real life horror film.
I think that is the podcast for this week. I don't think I have anything else to mention.
I don't have anything to add. Except war definitely is hell.
Yes, it is. Captain Obvious over here. No, I'm just...
It's not heck. War is not heck.
Make love, not war, man. So if you'd like to, you know, do any of the stuff that I mentioned previously, go and do that. I'm just going to be very vague. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, kick in some shekels on Patreon if you feel so inclined to do so. We would greatly appreciate it. There's extra perks on there, whatnot. And that is it. And until next week, we bid you adieu. Take care and be safe and don't die.
Yeah, don't do that. See ya.